Hey you guys, this is Dana from the future. The video you're about to watch is a little bit longer than normal, but it's because there's so much information I need to give you. I'm going to be giving you an introduction to a new controller. You're going to find that out here shortly, but then we're actually going to dive in. We're going to talk about everything you can do with it. And so there's a little bit of technical involved. I just kind of puked it all out there for you guys. I was on a roll this weekend. I just wanted to get you as much information as possible. So please, if you can, it's a long video. Stick around, enjoy. Take notes. This sucker's coming your way this summer, so I want you guys to be fully prepared for it, and therefore the length of the video. All right, Dana, take it over. Hi everyone, I'm Dana, and welcome back to Inverter Always. In today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Daikin Hero Simple Edge controller. It's Daikin's internet-based monitoring platform. It seems very, very cool. It's something that we've wanted for a long time. It's something we've desperately needed for an even longer amount of time, and we've been asking, and it's finally launching this year, 2022. I'm very excited. I've finally seen it and touched it and played with it. It's a very cool platform, and it gives us a lot of flexibility in what we can monitor, set up notifications, that sort of thing. So you guys, let's go ahead and jump right in. But before we do, if you enjoyed today's video, please click the like button below. It really helps out my channel. If you haven't already and you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing. All right, let's jump right in. Now, you guys, before we jump into today's content, just a quick shout out to the newest channel members. We have Ron, Dylan, and Cargeek. So thank you to the three of you guys for becoming channel members. I greatly appreciate it. So as we're getting into today's content, you guys, I want to show you some slide decks that I've put together. And basically what I did is I spent a couple of weekends here, a couple weekends ago, working on some slides that I can give to not only you guys, but then slides that I can give out in person, you know, in my day-to-day job. So as we go through some of this information, I may not touch on everything. I've got, 33 slides of information that I've put together here, and some of it's a little bit redundant, so bear with me a little bit. It's kind of my first stab at it, if you will. But basically, the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is what is the Daikin Hero Simple Edge controller. The controller itself is a device that you can buy as a end user through your contractor, or if you're the contractor, you can buy it through your rep or distributor. Basically, you want to buy one of these modules for every system that you install. What it's going to do then is it has a SIM card, a Verizon SIM card built into it. It comes pre-activated from Daikin, and you have a 1-year subscription that is included with the purchase of the device. So the way that it talks to the internet is through the Verizon network. So it does not connect via Wi-Fi at this time. It is an LTE connection. So, and the other thing to keep in mind is it is Verizon only at this time. Now, I'm sure at some point that's going to change. They have not addressed, Daikin has not addressed what happens if you don't have a cell signal on the job site where your condensers are mounted. So there's still a little bit of discussion to be had there. But for the most part, at least in my market, most of our commercial buildings have cellular service available, with the exception of very few. So at least initially upon launch this summer, from the sounds of it, I actually talked to Daikin this week. The Daikin Hero Simple Edge is going to be launching in July. So that's literally right around the corner from the time of this recording. It is going to launch initially only compatible with the Emirion systems, the Emirion condensers. Those are the new outdoor units we talked about in a recent video. I'll put a link to that video in the corner so you can check it out if you're interested in new products. But basically what this device is going to do is plug into the outdoor unit, and then the outdoor unit will power it. It's plug and play. It comes with its own cable, so you don't have to hardwire it in with your field wiring or anything like that. It plugs in. It comes with magnets on the back, so you just magnet attach it to the condenser side panel or front panel, and then it's going to connect to the network. Basically, it's just all plug and play automatic. There's no setup that you have to do on the device itself. You will need to, let me go back one slide real quick. On the back of this device will be your MEID, your SIM number, serial, and all that. You will need to scan that at some point in the process. So take a picture of that before you leave the job site, just to save yourself some time, because you will need that information at some point to upload it to the cloud platform, the online portal, if you will. So it plugs right into the outdoor unit. Now, it's important to note that you'll need one of these for every system. So if I have a single module system, I need one of these Daikin Hero Simple Edge devices. If I have two separate systems not twinned together, I will need two of these devices. If I have one double module twinned together system, I only need one device. It's going to wire and plug into the master outdoor unit. So important that you understand how many of these to purchase. Basically purchase one for every system. Now, initially at launch, this device is going to allow you, the end user, the building manager or maintenance manager or the contractor, service technician, me, basically anybody who gets set up for this site location on the online platform, the dashboard, is going to have access to monitor the equipment. Now, there's a ton of stuff you can monitor, but at least initially you're only going to be able to monitor. You will not be able to control anything through this portal. This is a monitor type of portal only. At some point, you will be able to change the outdoor unit field settings remotely through this platform. So whenever that happens, very cool if you need to change the outdoor field settings. And this is probably further down the road, but at some point you will also be able to change the indoor unit field settings. Although this is still more a conversational piece. It's a we're working on it type of thing with no ETA in sight. So yeah, who knows as far as that goes. But the outdoor field settings, when I did the walkthrough with the factory, it's actually already in the equipment tab. So it's there, it's available. When we get a little bit further here, then I'll talk to you guys more about that. One thing to keep in mind is your cable length is 10 feet. So where I said it comes with magnets, you put the magnets on the back, just 3M double back sticky, and stick it to the outside of the panel. You only have 10 feet of cable, so you're not exactly going to be able to remote locate it. Shouldn't be a big deal. The box itself is weatherproof. It's designed to be outside, so I don't think that'll be that big of an issue. Subscriptions. So before we go further, additional years of subscriptions will be available. The way that Daikin has basically said it's going to work is you get the first year, which we already talked about. That is just built into the cost of the controller. Then if you want more years, you'll either be able to purchase the years upon your current subscription expiring. When you log into the dashboard, and I'll show you here shortly, on the right-hand side, it'll actually show you all of the sites that you've uploaded to your dashboard and what the subscription status is of each of those sites and when they're all expiring. So you'll be able to update or to increase your subscription status that way. Or when you purchase the device originally, you can purchase it with a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year subscription all up front. As far as the details as to how that will go and how much that will cost, I don't know yet. This is all just based on, this is what Daikin has told me so far. So I'm telling you guys. When you're looking at each of your locations, and I'll show you what this looks like here shortly, but your end user, whoever this is, you, me, the service tech, any of these folks that I've listed in the bullet points here on this slide, we can adjust who gets to see what. So this is kind of cool. So you basically have different access levels for your cloud login. So let's say I have a particular job site. I am the service champion level, so I see everything. I can set up different users. So the technician and the contractor, maybe I want you guys to see most everything, but maybe not everything. Maybe there's a couple things in there that your everyday technician contractor doesn't really need, but you can choose. You can choose what they want. building maintenance person, so an on-site maintenance person, maybe you don't want them seeing as much, so they see just more stuff than the minimum. There's a whole list of items you can check when you're creating this user or going into the administration section. So building end user or owner side, you want them to see as little as possible. Is your system good? Is it green? Are there alarms? Are there caution warning level types of issues or what? So this is all programmable, and I'll show you when we get to that slide what that looks like. As far as data points, like what can we see? Here's where things kind of surprised me in a good way. We can see all the indoor and outdoor operation data. So just like you would maybe hook up a service checker to the outdoor unit, pull in all the points, and you're looking at discharge pipe temperature, condensing temperature, pressures, heat exchanger temperatures, indoor and outdoor expansion valve positions, you can see all of that from the dashboard. So right away, for all of you service techs out there, anybody who's technically inclined and understands how the refrigeration circuit works, if you're ever doing diagnostics, immediately it's, as long as I have internet, I can go see the performance of the system live, which is great because now I don't have to go all the way out to the job site, plug in my service checker, pull in all the points, and then operate the equipment. I can just log in remotely and boom, I see all those points. And there's a lot more to it than just that. I'll show you when we get to the screenshots just because I don't want to ruin the surprise. Obviously, if there's error codes, there's a whole tab for alarms, and all the alarms are organized in a different level of critical, I guess, is it a critical alarm or is it not that big of a deal? So your alert level, high, medium, low. And then your energy consumption data. So the thing about the energy consumption data, I'll show you that graph when we get to it in just a couple slides, but it's using the outdoor unit built in, basically it's a current sensor. And so, or a current transformer, it's a CT that's built into the outdoor unit. So when we have service checker hooked up, we can see what the system is pulling. It's using that data to generate a somewhat estimated total kilowatt usage. It's not an actual meter that we're putting on the circuit breaker. And so, yes, you can see the energy consumption day over day, comparing the same unit to itself. You can compare one unit to another unit. You can even compare one job site location, so the entire combined energy consumption of that location, to a different location. So if I have, two different jobs, one's north on I-5 corridor, one's further south in my state, I can compare those two. Or maybe I have two different schools. One person from one school calls and says, why is my energy usage so high? I can log in and go, oh, well, look, you guys don't operate your system the way VRF is designed to operate. Set it, leave it, forget it, maintain. Whereas this other school that's of similar size in a similar area as yours, climate-wise, uses way less energy. And so there's conversations obviously to be had. We're going off on a tangent, but it's good information to be able to pull up for a variety of different reasons. One of the most important things, of course, is you have now 24/7, 365 access. As long as you have internet, you can log in and you can see alarms, you can see operational data. So at any point, if there's ever a question, if there's ever a problem, boom, you log in and you're good to go. So, and each person's login. So for example, when I log in, I will be able to see every single adapter on every single job site that I hook up. And so there'll just be a big drop down list, and there's a big map right on your dashboard. I'll show you in just a second, where it shows you all your different locations. So you can click on one, take a look. It's extremely, extremely helpful. It reduces your site trips. I mean, this is huge. Now, if you have an error code, technician can log in, see what the error code is, see when the error code occurred. So there will be a timestamp. There's even a section in the error code where you can put comments. So if the end user sees the error code first, or somebody on site, building maintenance person, can put a note in there that says contacted contractor, technician, scheduling appointment. Then when this technician gets out onto the job site and reviews or repairs or diagnoses or whatever they do on the job site, they can put a note in there, and it's available for every single person who has that level of access who logs in. So I can log in and I can see, oh, there was an error code on, I don't know, June 1st. Looks like the building maintenance person put a note in there. They found the error code, or they were notified via email about the error code. And the contractor went in on June 3rd and did the diagnostic and found that there was a bad sensor. Okay, great. They ordered the sensor. So I see that now. Okay, so by the time I get involved, I can see, oh, the technicians replaced the sensor, the error code's gone away, but now we need to check something else, or whatever the situation might be. Again, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I'm just trying to give you guys like all the what ifs, hows, and whens, and wheres, and whys we would utilize this platform, because right now it's just, the list is huge. Now, as far as monitoring capabilities go for the platform, initially it's going to be monitor only. So it's just showing you all the data points, spitting them out. Here's all the information. And if there's no error codes, but there's a performance problem, you still have to be the technician and analyze the data points, just like you would if you were on site with a service checker. Now, over time, Daikin has developed an AI that is going to look at all of these systems that are connected, similar to how DNet works, if you're familiar with DNet monitoring services, and it will, over time, build a predictive algorithm. So it will start to look for, is an inter-unit flooding? Is an expansion valve not closing all the way? Do I risk having a F4 situation where liquid's getting back to the compressor? Or do I have bad sensors? So all of this stuff will eventually, over time, be developed naturally through this algorithm, through this AI. So we will have, at some point, once we have enough of these out there, a predictive algorithm notification. So you'll get an email that says, hey, the system has predicted that there will be a problem due to this expansion valve not properly operating. That's just the most common that I see on the DNet side, is when you get the predictive alarm, it's because you don't have enough superheat or the proper subcooling across a particular unit, usually an inter-unit heat exchanger, and it's usually due to the EEV, electronic expansion valve, not working properly. But again, I digress. So what is the bottom line? Where am I going with this? Before we jump in to look at some examples, all these pictures I keep telling you I'm going to show you, I'm about to show you. But what's the bottom line? I guess the bottom line here is we now have this internet-based controls system that is going to give us a ton of information that we otherwise would not have had if we didn't have this. If we get an error code on a job site over the weekend and nobody's in the building, nobody knows there's a problem until Monday morning when they show up and the building is cold. It's 20, 30 degrees outside, snow on the ground, and the building's cold because the system failed, locked out over the weekend, and nobody knew. Whereas now you hook this up, as soon as that error code generates, an email notification goes out to all of the people who you have associated with that site location and given access to that notification. Same thing if there's no alarm, but there's like a caution. Hey, this is an issue, but it's not an actual alarm shutdown. You'll get a notification. So now you're going to be ahead of the curve, and possibly there's already a technician there now on Sunday over the weekend working on this. So Monday when you come in, you have heat. Again, just an example. And from the technician's perspective, now every single system that you, the contractor, installs with one of these, you set up your service department, or maybe your main contact, or one of your service techs that understands the VRF products and how they work with this system. So they get that notification. Now they see the error code. They see a full-blown diagnostic pulled from the service manual that says, here's what the problem is, here's the supposed causes, here's how the system trips that code. So here's the sensor, or here's the value that it looks for, and here's why it's tripping, and a link to the service manual flowchart to then diagnose the problem. So before the technician even goes out to the job site, they've been notified of this problem. Very well possible they've been notified of this problem, and the end users don't even know there's a problem yet because they haven't looked at their notifications. And we're already working on resolving the issue before Monday ever gets here. So just from an insurance policy type of thing, I mean, this is a no-brainer. Every single system should have one of these. So now let's take a look at an example. So when you log in, you're going to have these 4 allocations. You're going to have any errors. You'll have your warnings, You'll have any alarms that maybe are not error codes, but other types of alarms. I'll talk to you about that in just a second. And anything that's offline. Offline simply means it's not communicating to the cloud network. So maybe somebody killed power, maybe somebody, yanked out the LTE router. I don't know. But this basically means that the dashboard, the online portion of the software cannot communicate with the equipment. The error codes is error codes. Warnings are like if you had a predictive alert, hey, here's a potential issue. It's a warning, low superheat on indoor 14 or something like that. And then your alarms would be like, I want to set up a notification alarm if my compressor runs for 16 hours straight, never shuts off because it's falling behind. Total hypothetical example, but that type of a notification alarm would then theoretically pop up here. So anytime you have a certain alert level, it'll go from green to yellow to red. If I have an error code, it'll go to red. If I have just a warning, caution, you need to take a look at this, but it's not shutting down the system, it would turn to yellow. So then in the middle of the dashboard, you have your map. And depending on where you're located as a user, your map will by default, pull up to your area of devices. So me, I'm in Washington State, so it would pull up. I'd be able to see, Washington State and whatnot. And then on the right-hand side is where you'll have all of your subscriptions. So in this example screenshot here, you can see we've got 3 different site locations. And because it's a demo, we don't actually have an expiration date. But if you did have an expiration date for each subscription, it would be populated here. And that's right there at the top. So, everything you need to know from an alert status, like, hey, I need to grab your attention on the dashboard the moment you log in is boom, 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 right there across the top. Super helpful in my opinion. Underneath that is going to be a couple of additional tabs, and this is all customizable. You can always click in the corner, hit customize, and you can deselect what you put on your dashboard. But one example would be if you want to just see like a quick outdoor to indoor comparison, one alarm on the outdoor or an alarm on the indoor, a couple of items here, you can do that. Energy management, if you want to see just a quick snippet of how much general overall energy have I been using in cooling, heating, parallel operation, all this stuff is customizable. When you go into what we call the equipment tab, or if you click on one of the alarms. So if you had an error here and you clicked on it, it would take you to the error code screen. But when you click on that, you can actually get to here. This is basically from the equipment tab. I'll show you the tab in a second, your operational data. So to kind of just walk you through this real quick, your outdoor unit refrigerant circuit is going to be live, and all these data points are going to be updating live, and these colored lines are going to be updating live. So it's going to be a fully moving picture, if you will, based on what the refrigerant temperatures and pressures are within this circuit, where the refrigerant is supposed to be going. What's really helpful about this is depending on the mode of operation, you can see what the refrigerant is supposed to look like based on if it's a superheated gas, if it's a liquid, if it's coming back as a low pressure, a low temperature gas. And you can use that as a reference to then go back and check what it thinks the temperature is, or what it thinks the pressure is to what it actually is on the unit. So from a diagnostic perspective, this is a nice little helpful here, check this type of thing. You can see the mode of operation at the top. If it's calling, the thermostat is on, thermo on. This has actually been updated since this now actually says thermo on, which is very helpful. Outdoor temperature, all these data points here, and then you can switch over from the master outdoor unit to the sub or sub 2, depending on how many modules you're going to have. Amirion only has 2 outdoor modules, so you'd either have master or sub. But eventually this will be available for VRVX, VRV4 systems, so you could potentially have 3 modules on those systems. Anyways, I digress. You've got some information about the equipment details, so model, number of the outdoor unit, capacity of the outdoor unit, signal strength to the device, if you have a DNet, AirNet address, that type of thing. And then this is also where, here it shows you right here, field settings, edit button. You can go in and click edit and change the field settings. Initially only on the outdoor unit. service manual. And then if you scroll down, oh, of course I can't scroll down because it's a picture. Silly Dana. I'm so used to doing the walkthrough. But down here is all of your indoor units. So since taking this screenshot, this left-hand side has actually slightly changed, just as far as the order of all these widgets goes. But you actually can scroll down and you can click on an indoor unit that's connected to this outdoor unit, and it will change this whole screen and show you the indoor unit refrigerant circuit. Maybe in a future video, once this launches, what I'll do is I'll actually log in and we'll look at a system and we'll do like a live walkthrough together, because I think that is going to help you guys a lot more than just snippets. But I digress once again. If you scroll further down the page, you have graphable data. And we talked about this in the previous video just briefly, but you have a pre-selectable graphed list you can select. So when you click this preset plot, you can do like a compressor health check. And it basically just auto grabs a certain set of points to put on each of these graphs. And then all 4 of these graphs are all synced together. So wherever you're looking at in a particular timestamp, it's going to move the cursor for all of the other graphs for you so that you can see what the data point is on all 4 graphs all at the same time for a particular timestamp. And that's super handy. Depending on the type of point that you have will determine where it goes on this graph. So for example, anything that has a temperature value, an amp value, a percentage of change value. So one thing I noticed in the latest demo is they went from EEV pulses to EEV open percent. So 0 to 100% instead of 0 to 3,000 pulses. And I think that was to try to get everything onto one particular chart. Whereas over on this other chart, you can see there's PSI, and on this snippet, they actually still have pulses there. That's been changed. And this stuff may still change between now and the actual launch. One thing I noticed was as we're doing the demo and I'm asking questions on the back end, Daikin is actually able to change things on the fly and go, okay, refresh your page now. Tell us what you think. So they're very heavily involved with the moving around process, make it how, we all think it needs to be made. So further down on the same page, if you go below the graphs, here's where you can actually grab specific data points. So if you've used Service Checker in the past, you're used to scrolling up and down. Basically, here are all your individual points, like you're familiar with seeing them on Service Checker. So when you guys get to the Alarm tab, this is where you're going to be able to see information on an active alarm. You can also look at past alarm history. And when you go to the Alarm tab itself, there's actually there's a window in between this snippet here and just simply clicking on the Alarm tab. It'll actually show you all of your alarms and whether or not they're active. So that way you can see if you have an active alarm. Here you can see the priority of this particular alarm is low, even though it's a E3, I think it says. It's not necessarily a low it's not necessarily a low level alarm, but again, a lot of these snippets are outdated, so that's probably been changed. You have the alarm description. What is the error code? It's an actuation of the high pressure switch on the master outdoor unit. Okay, that's very helpful information. High pressure switch tripped. We'd like to know why. So here's some possible causes, a couple of tech tips, some conditions that need to be met in order to trigger the alarm, along with the method of how it detects that trip. A section for comments. So like we discussed a little bit ago, if you, depending on who you are when you log in, you can put a comment here. Contacted technician, or if you're the technician, troubleshooted the error. It was a bad high pressure switch, ordered a new one, or whatever the case may be. On the left hand side, you can see some general information about the alarm, like the actual error code, site location, which device that it occurred on, if it's active or not active, error type warning, which I believe should have been updated by now. It's an actual lockout, system won't run. Site information, so whatever you have here, it's just the site information, site address, that sort of thing. And then you have the condensing unit information, so the equipment name you gave it, unit location of the device. This is stuff that you'd program in when you add the device. You have your equipment details, serial number, blah, 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 AirNet address, that sort of thing, signal strength to the edge device. And then below that, you can actually see where you have your linked indoor units. These are all the indoor units we were talking about earlier in the equipment tab section. And here's where you can click on those to get some sort of a status update as well. If you move over to, let me move you here to the energy management tab. So here you can actually do a couple of things. This is pretty cool. So you'll see that there are some sub tabs at the top. You have a site consumption, outdoor unit comparison, and a multi-site consumption comparison. When you go to a site consumption, this is showing you the consumption for a particular site. If you want to go to an outdoor unit comparison, then you can click on outdoor unit comparison and compare two separate systems on that site to each other. So you can see if one is, often struggling, if it's using more energy, less energy, what. And then you can do a multi-site comparison. So if you have a site in one city and another site in an adjacent city, kind of like the example we gave earlier with the two schools, you can see what they're doing here. You can see the amount of estimated kilowatt hours usage and the percentage or maybe just the amount in cooling operation versus cooling and heating parallel, simultaneous heating and cooling versus just fan, that'd be like thermal off, and heating. So here you can see that, the majority of the time, just by looking at most of these days, it's in parallel simultaneous heating and cooling, which is what it should be doing. Maybe in the mornings, you got more heating load. Maybe in the afternoons, you got a little more cooling load there. But you can see, how much of each is being used by the condenser. So nice information here that we can utilize. Again, this is not on a meter. This is just through the outdoor unit monitoring. The next tab is demand scheduling. And I talked about this in a more recent video. Nothing has really changed here from what I've seen, but basically demand scheduling is when you need to force the system to operate at a lower performance factor, lower the compressor capacity, lower the compressor speed. And this is usually for any area that has like a peak electrical consumption charge. So if you're in an area where from, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., there's like a peak in your power consumption bill, you would want to schedule that in from 8 to 10. You want to enable the system to lower its operational output so you're not using as much energy, so that way you're not getting billed as much. Where I live, we don't really have this, so we won't be using this, but I know that this is a thing in a lot of states within the country, so definitely something you may want to be using. Now, a lot of folks have asked, am I going to be able to schedule the equipment, like schedule it to change set points and actually control the equipment from here? And the answer is no, not at this time. I asked again this week when I was doing my hands-on demonstration, and again, the answer was no, not at this time. At some point, we'll have a schedule in here where we'll have the ability to make set point changes, but for right now, it's all monitor only. So yeah, you guys, a ton of information to get through. Hopefully you guys made it to the end. This was a longer video than normal, but wanted to kind of just give you guys everything I had so far up till now, between kind of a more of a sales prezo, but also a walkthrough, kind of all in one. So yeah, if you guys have questions, I'm sure there's probably going to be lots of changes from the time I record this to the time that it actually launches. Even though it's just around the corner, July, August, it's already been pushed out. It was supposed to launch in like February, March. So hopefully by this summer, we're going to actually have a few of these out there and I can actually get my hands on a live system. But yeah, if you guys get to it before I get to it, shoot me a link. I would love to log in, play with it a little bit, and make more content on this device. I can tell you one thing is for sure, I will be putting one of these on every single VRV Amirion that I purchase and install, or design for the contractor to install, I should say. It's definitely something I'm very excited for. Simply from the fact that I can log in at any point, see live data. That right there is going to be extremely helpful. How often, I'm sure some of you folks out there have had a similar situation where a person calls up and they're like, yeah, man, it's just not heating. It's not keeping up. And I'm like, okay, well, I need more information than that. Oh, we're going to have to schedule a site to plug in, check performance. Here in a couple weeks, I'm actually going out to a job site just for something like that. It's like no error codes, just doesn't keep up. End users concerned that there might be a problem. So going out there and plugging in here, now I wouldn't have to do that. I can literally just log into the portal, look at the system's performance and go, Yeah, it's maintaining within 2 degrees of set point throughout the entire building. Like, dude, you're fine. Or, oh man, yeah, your system's really struggling. Here's some data points that maybe suggest why. Oh, look, it's low on charge. You don't even have to leave your office to do that. And then the service tech who goes out there at that point would know, all right, it's low on charge. I need to bring the tools associated to remove whatever's left, weigh it out, see how low it is, do a pressure test, find the leak, fix the leak, pull a vacuum, add more refrigerant, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm really excited for it, you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, even though it was super long, super technical, I just, again, wanted to get you all the information this weekend. I know I have been working to get you more on this thing. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please click the like button below. It really helps out my channel. And as we already discussed earlier in the video, if you haven't already, you've made it until the end, you obviously enjoyed this content enough to stick around for 45 minutes. So you should subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching Inverter always. Hope you guys all have an awesome day.